Hello everybody. So today we're going to be reading the book I, Dissent. And this is a book about this woman right here. This remarkable woman. Her name is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And this is about her life and some things that happened to her in her childhood and how she was brought up that really affected her as she became an adult, and some remarkable choices that she made. So we get to learn about this amazing person. Before we get started on that, I wanted to talk to you guys about our reading focus. And our reading focus today is going to be cause and effect. So that might actually trigger some of you guys. You guys might go, oh, that sounds familiar, right? So we did learn about cause and effect last year. But we're going to learn about it again this year. So our objective is we will be able to find the cause and effect in a story by finding the reasons why something happens, so the cause, and the result, which is the effect. So cause and effect. Cause. That means the reason why something happens. So right here, this little girl, she's planting some seeds, right? That is the cause. The effect is the result, or what happens after she plants the seeds. Well, after she plants the seeds, what happens? The effect is that she grows flowers, right? So cause and effect. As you become a more experienced reader and thinker, these connections are not going to be so obvious. So you will notice it's not going to be really obvious when we read the story, but that's why I've chosen to do this as our reading focus, so we can really dig a little bit deeper and become stronger readers. A lot of events that caused Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or RBG, to have the effect that she did were years apart. So things that happened to her in her childhood, you're going to find in this story, really affect her and shaped her on the choices that she made as she gets older. I, Dissent is a wonderful mentor text to examine this concept. I, Dissent. I, Dissent with Ruth Bader Ginsburg makes her mark. And this is by Debbie Levy. You could say that Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life has been one disagreement after another. Disagreement with creaky old ideas, with unfairness, with inequality. Ruth has disagreed, disapproved, and deferred. She has objected. She has resisted. She has dissented. Disagreeable? No. Determined? Yes. This is how Ruth Bader Ginsburg changed her life and others. In 1914, Little Ruth's neighborhood was vibrant with immigrants, people from Italy, Ireland, England, Poland, and Germany. Jews from Russia, like Ruth's father, Nathan Bader, people from different cultures with different holidays, foods, and traditions. So she grew up in an environment where there were all kinds of people from all walks of life. So she really got to experience all different kinds of things and cultures. But in all these families in Brooklyn, New York, and in families everywhere, one thing was the same. Boys were expected to grow up, go out in the world, and do big things. Girls were expected to find husbands. So in this time, girls, that's what they were expected to do. They were expected to get married and to be a housewife, whereas men were the ones that went out to work and made the money. Ruth's mother disagreed. So Ruth's mother did not like that way of thinking. She wanted more for Ruth. Celia Amster Bader, which is her mom, thought girls should also have the chance to make their mark on the world. So she took Ruth to the library. On the shelves were stories of girls and women who did big things. Ruth read about Nancy Drew, girl detective. She discovered Amelia Earhart, daring aviator. She learned of Athena, goddess of Greek myths. Here were independent girls and women taking charge. Ruth read her way into this world. Around her, the sweet scent of books blended with savory aromas from the Chinese restaurant downstairs. Delicious. A girl could be anything. So because she was exposed, so there's that cause, she was exposed to a lot of books that had these strong women in it, right? And the effect is down the road, right, that she becomes this thinker, right? This thinker who believes in women's rights. And we're going to see that in here in a little bit. Sometimes Ruth and her parents took car trips out of the crowded city, and they drove past a hotel in Pennsylvania. Ruth saw signs. No dogs or Jews allowed. Oh, that's not very nice, huh? This is how it was in those days. Hotels, restaurants, even entire neighborhoods announcing, no Jews, no colored, no Mexicans, whites only. Not welcome, not allowed. Ruth and her family were Jewish. This was prejudice, pure and simple. Now it was Ruth's turn to disagree. She disagreed by never forgetting how it felt to read such signs. She never forgot the sting of prejudice. So there's that cause. She sees a lot of these signs when she's little, and she knows it's wrong, right? She knows that it's prejudice. And we'll see here soon what she does about that. In elementary school, Ruth was excellent in some classes and less excellent in others. I think we can all pretty much agree on that, right? We're good at some subjects, but we're not good at other ones, right? Her favorite were English, history, and gym, and those she did well. But then there was handwriting. Ruth was left-handed. Back then, teachers told left-handers they should try to write with their right hands. Ruth's right-handed penmanship was so bad. She earned a D on her penmanship test. She cried. Then she protested. Ruth protested by writing with her left hand from that day forward, and it turned out she had quite nice handwriting. Ruth also had a little problem with sewing and cooking. These were her least favorite classes, but girls had to take them. Boys took shop, where they worked with saw and other tools. Ruth objected. So she said, I do not want to do this. She wanted to take shop. She wanted to handle a saw. She didn't get what she wanted. It may have been unfair to girls and to boys, but Ruth was learning that sometimes life was like that. Ruth loved music. She especially loved opera. In music class, she lifted her voice in song. This time, it was Ruth's music teacher who objected, gently. Ruth simply could not carry a tune. The teacher asked Ruth not to sing out loud in the chorus. Ruth kept on singing, in the shower and in her dreams. She continued to adore opera too. So even though maybe she wasn't a very good singer, she kept on singing, right? She sang in the shower, and she also went to opera. It's pretty cool. By the time Ruth was in high school, friends and teachers knew her as an outstanding student. Baton twirler, cello player, and newspaper editor. As graduation approached, Ruth was chosen to make a speech at the ceremony, but she had been keeping a big secret. Her mother was terribly sick. The day before graduation, Celia Batter died. There was no agreeing with this. There was no disagreeing. This simply was. Ruth did not go to her graduation. She did not give her speech. Ruth knew what her mother wanted. 3 months later, she left home to attend college. So even though her mom passed away, she still lived her mom's dream for her, which was for her to be educated and to go to college. Not many girls went to college in the 1950s. Ruth made friends, but she also met girls who excluded Jews from their clubs. She met boys who thought girls should be looking for husbands. And then she met Martin Ginsburg. Marty was tall and funny. Ruth was small and serious. Marty could make her laugh. They fell in love and hatched a plan. After college, they would go to law school. Both of them. Lawyers Ruth had learned could fight unfairness and prejudice in courts. So I want you guys to remember back. Remember all those signs that she saw when she was driving with her parents into different towns and neighborhoods, and she saw those no Jews signs, no coloreds, whites only, right? That prejudice that really affected her. So the cause of seeing those signs affected her, and the effect was that she chose to do something about it. She's going to become a lawyer so she can fight unfairness and fight prejudice. People thought it was a fine idea for Marty to attend law school. They didn't think Ruth should go. A lady lawyer? People disapproved. Ruth disapproved right back. So did Marty. So together, they fought back and said, nope, Ruth's going to become a lawyer. They got married, they went to law school, and they had a baby, Jane. Ruth's law school class had a total of 9 women and 500 men. So when she went to law school, there was only 5 or 9 women. That was it, out of 500 men. She studied mightily and tied for first place in her class. And yet at graduation time, no one would hire this brilliant new lawyer. So even though she was top of her class, no one was going to hire her. Why? Because she was a woman. Why not? She was a woman. Men didn't want to work with a woman. She was a mother. Men thought a mother wouldn't pay attention to work. She was Jewish. Many people were still prejudiced. 3 strikes against her, but Ruth was not out. She resisted and persisted. Finally, a judge hired her, and she worked like mad for him. After that, one law school hired her, and then another. Ruth became one of the few women law professors in the whole country, and she did it with a new baby at home, James. So now she has 2 children. Ruth had disagreed and worked her way into being a lawyer and professor. But around her, other women were excluded from jobs. When they did get jobs, they earned less than men. They were kept out of important roles in courts and government. To make matters worse, the Supreme Court of the United States, the highest court in the land, approved all this. As one Supreme Court justice had written before, the natural and proper timidity and delicacy which belongs to the female sex, evidently unfits in it for many of the occupations of civil life. In other words, women and girls were too shy and too weak to do big things in the world. That's how they felt. Another Supreme Court opinion declared women has always been dependent upon men. Ruth really, really disagreed with this. So Ruth went to court to fight the equal treatment of women. The most important case went to the Supreme Court. The first time she appeared there, Ruth was so nervous she feared she might be sick. But standing before the 9 Supreme Court justices, Ruth imagined them all as her students. She, Professor Ginsburg, needed to teach these students, who were all men, why a person's choices shouldn't be limited because she was born a girl. Ruth wasn't only fighting for women. When women were excluded from the work world, men were excluded from home life. Why should a father stay home to care for his children, and cook the meals? Why shouldn't his wife run a business? These were fresh ideas in the 1970s, so about 60 years ago, or 50 years ago. Ruth did not win every case, but she won enough. With each victory, women and men and girls and boys enjoyed a little more equality. So let's go back to the beginning of the story. Because of all of the experiences that she had, and when she was a child, and having her mother say, it doesn't matter that you're a girl. You can do what everybody else does. You can do what boys do, right? So she had that strong role when she was little that shaped her into this person today that was changing lives for equality. Sometimes Ruth and Marty's children received confused looks when they said that their mother argued cases in the Supreme Court and their father made the family dinners. People found this strange. Ruth, Marty, Jane, and James did not concur. They kept on being the type of family they wanted to be. And dinners at the Ginsburg home were delicious. Marty was a successful lawyer, but also a marvelous chef who had mastered the art of French cooking. Ruth, her family knew, had mastered the art of burnt pot roast. So she wasn't a very good cook, but her husband definitely was. Ruth became well known as a lawyer, so well that President Jimmy Carter chose her to be a judge in Washington, D.C. Then Ruth became known as the first-rate judge, and President Bill Clinton asked her to be a justice of the Supreme Court. Along with the 8 other Supreme Court justices, her job would be to decide the most significant cases and answer the most difficult legal questions in the United States. Ruth agreed. In 1993, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg became the first Jewish woman on the nation's highest court. So she was the first Jewish woman to do that. In each case, the Supreme Court considers, after hearing from lawyers who argue for each side, the 9 justices take a vote. The side that gets the most votes wins the case. The justices who agree write an opinion to explain the court's ruling. When Justice Ginsburg votes with the winning side, she wears a special lace collar over her robe. But many times when the Supreme Court announces the decision, I dissent, Justice Ginsburg disagrees. So sometimes they agree and sometimes they disagree. She says, and she writes, her own opinion explaining why. So even if she disagrees, she still explains why. Plus, she wears a different color just for dissenting. I dissent, Justice Ginsburg said when the court wouldn't help women or African Americans or immigrants who had been treated unfairly at work. So she disagreed with that. I dissent when the court rejected a law meant to protect the rights of all citizens to vote, no matter their skin color. So she disagreed with that. I dissent when the court said no to schools that offered African Americans a better chance to go to college. Justice Ginsburg can be very convincing. In one dissent, she explained why the court was wrong to rule against women workers who were fighting to get paid the same as men. Congress and the president agreed with her and passed a law to undo the court's ruling. So yay for her. Justice Ginsburg has disagreed most often with legal views of Justice Antonia Scalia, but they didn't just complain. I dissent. No, I dissent. They shared their conflicting ideas. Each pointed out weaknesses and others' arguments. And after the opinions were written, the two justices had fun with each other. They didn't let disagreements about law get in their way of a long friendship. So even though they disagreed on the politics, okay, they still had a good relationship. So you can disagree with people, but still be friends, right? It's okay to disagree. But also keeping that strong relationship is also very important. So this is a picture of them parasailing in France and riding an elephant in India. Justice Ginsburg is now the oldest member of the Supreme Court. Some people have said that she should quit because of her age. Justice Ginsburg begs to differ. She works as hard as ever. She exercises in the gym. She never misses a day in court. She attends the opera, gives speeches, and travels. Many have cheered Justice Ginsburg for her persistence and independence. They've called her a rock star, a queen, a goddess, a hero. Of course, Ruth Bader Ginsburg isn't a rock star, a queen, a goddess, but to many, she is a hero. She made change happen, and she changed minds. She cleared a path for people to follow in her footsteps. Girls in college, women in law school, and everyone who wants to be treated without prejudice. Her voice may not carry a tune, but it sings out for equality. Step by step, she has made a difference. One disagreement after another. The end. Okay, so what you're going to need for this activity is you're going to need your events from Ruth's life worksheet. This was given to you at the last supply pickup. So you will need this. If you want to type it in Seesaw, you may also do that. So again, our focus is looking at the cause and the effect. So what are some causes, the reason why something happens, and the effect of those, the result, or what happens after that, okay? The first one we're going to look at is, we're talking about Ruth here. Growing up in a neighborhood with lots of immigrants. So if you remember in the beginning of the book, they talk about how she grew up in Brooklyn, and she was surrounded by people from all different countries. So people from Italy and Ireland and England and Poland and Germany, Jews from Russia, right? So she really saw all different kinds of people from different cultures. And so she got to experience their religions and their holidays and their foods and their traditions. So she was exposed to all that when she was little. So thinking about that, that was the cause, okay, when she was little. What was the effect of that? Well, the effect is that it really showed her that everyone is equal, right? We might have different backgrounds, but we're all the same. So here you're going to write, it showed Ruth that we are all equal, even though we have different traditions, religions, holidays, and foods. So if you need to pause the video to write this down, go ahead and do that. Okay, so it showed Ruth that we are all equal, even though we have different traditions, religions, holidays, and foods. The next one says, reading books with courageous and strong women in them. So remember, her mom would send her, she would have her go to the library, and she would be reading all these books about Amelia Earhart and all these really strong women, right? So what was the effect of that? How did that impact her as she got older? Well, then she became a strong role model for women, right? So that's how it was, what the effect was. And you could probably come up with a different effect too, but that's the one that I saw. That she became a strong woman role model. And again, pause the video if you need some extra time to write this down. Okay, now we're on to seeing signs that express prejudice. So remember, when her and her parents would go out of town, she would be seeing these signs. So no Jews, no Mexicans, whites only. So just really prejudiced signs. And so how do you think that cause impacted her? How did it affect her? Well, she fought for unfairness and prejudice in courts, right? So seeing all those awful prejudice signs, she ended up doing something about it. And so Ruth fought for unfairness and prejudice in court. And pause the video so you can finish that sentence. All right, the next one, Ruth's mother passes away her senior year of high school. So because that happened, what was the effect? Well, the effect was she missed her graduation, right? She did go on to college as well, but Ruth missed her graduation. Okay, again, pause the video. And the next one, being turned down for a job after job, even though she was top of her class. Remember, she was the top 2 of her class. So even though she was turned down, she was eventually hired by a judge, right? And she worked like mad, really hard. And she was then hired as a law professor, which a lot of people, there wasn't very many women law professors in that time. So she really excelled. So Ruth was hired by a judge. Okay. She worked like mad for him. And what happened then was that she was hired as a law professor. And again, pause the video. All right, my sweets, the last one, President Bill Clinton nominating her to be a Supreme Court Justice. So because he did that, that was the cause. What was the effect? She was the first Jewish woman justice, right? Okay, once you're finished with that, please take a picture of this and send it to me on Seesaw, Miss Kellogg on Seesaw. All right, guys, that is it, and I hope you enjoyed the story.